This is Multi-Vlogs 247. On this episode, we dive into the interesting history of early Jewish immigration and the Palestine. Before the creation of modern Israel in 1948, many Jews resided in various parts of the world, particularly in Eastern Europe. A significant Jewish population lived in countries like Poland, Russia, and Lithuania, often facing persecution and anti-Semitism. Western Europe countries like Germany and France had established Jewish communities, with some Jews assimilating into local cultures while maintaining their religious practices. On the Middle East and North Africa, Arab countries, there were vibrant Jewish communities in places like Iraq, Egypt, and Morocco. These communities had deep historical roots, but the Jewish people faced increasing discrimination and violence in the mid-20th century. Many Jews immigrated to the United States of America in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, seeking better opportunities and escaping persecution. Cities like New York became major centers of Jewish life and a prosperous one for the many Jewish people. The Palestine prior to 1948, Jews had a continuous presence in Palestine, with waves of immigration, especially during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. By the time of the establishment of Israel, there were approximately 600,000 Jews living in Palestine, primarily in urban centers like Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Haifa. These communities contributed to the cultural and political landscape leading up to the establishment of the State of Israel. Now, how it all started. 19th century background growing of anti-Semitism. In the late 1800s, Jews in Europe faced increasing persecution and discrimination. Many were attacked in different violent scenes, believed to be an organized massacre of a particular ethnic group. Certainly Jewish people are extreme victims, especially in Eastern Europe, leading to a desire for a safe and permanent place to live. This circumstances increased the Jewish people's ambition for a homeland. The birth of Zionism. Theodor Herzl, an Austrian journalist, became a key figure in the movement for a Jewish homeland. He organized the first Zionist Congress in 1897 in Basel, Switzerland. The goal was to establish a national home for Jews in Palestine, which many just like Jewish people saw as their ancestral land. First Aliyah in 1882 through 1903, this was the first wave of Jewish immigration to Palestine, with many coming from Eastern Europe. They established agricultural communities and worked to create a new society based on Jewish values. Cultural developments. Cultural revival. Along with political efforts, there was a strong movement to revive Hebrew as a spoken language. Schools and cultural institutions were created, fostering a sense of unity among Jews. Second Aliyah in 1904 through 1914, the second wave of immigrants included many young Jews fleeing persecution in Russia. They founded collective farms known as kibbutzim and joined labor movements, shaping a new Jewish identity based on community and hard work. World War I and the British Mandate. The impact of World War I. During the war, the powerful Ottoman Empire, which controlled Palestine, was greatly weakened. The British saw Palestine as strategically important and aimed to control the region. Balfour Declaration in the year 1917, the British government issued this declaration, expressing support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This was a crucial moment for Zionists, as it signaled international support for their cause, considering all they have gone through. British Mandate in the year 1920 through 1947 League of Nations Mandate. After World War I, the League of Nations gave Britain the mandate to govern Palestine. The mandate aimed to support the establishment of a Jewish national home while protecting the rights of Arab residents. Rising tensions as Jewish immigration increased, particularly in the 1930s due to growing anti-Semitism in Europe, tensions between Jews and Arabs escalated, primarily because many Arabs feared that Jewish immigration would lead to their displacement. Violence and riots. The Arab Revolt erupted in the year 1936 through 1939 against British rule and Jewish immigration. The British responded with repression and attempts to placate Arab demands, but violence continued. Mass murder of the Jews. World War II and the Holocaust impact. In the years 1941 through 1945 during World War II, the Nazis systematically murdered 6 million Jews. Initially, the Nazi regime focused on excluding Jews from public life through discriminatory laws. The Nuremberg Laws of 1935 stripped Jews of citizenship and civil rights, marking a significant escalation in Nazi anti-Semitism. While the onset of World War II in 1939 facilitated the Hitler Nazis' genocidal plans. By 1941, the murder of the Jews was formalized at the Wannsee Conference, aiming for the systematic extermination of all Jews in Europe. Nazi forces implemented mass shootings and established extermination camps equipped with gas chambers. Over 6 million Jews were murdered through these horrific methods between 1941 and 1945. These horrific events, amongst others, made the need for a Jewish homeland even more urgent by the Jewish people and many nations around the world. As many Jewish survivors sought refuge. Displaced persons. After the war, many Holocaust survivors found themselves in refugee camps in Europe. There was a strong push for them to immigrate to Palestine, but British restrictions on immigration led to clandestine operations by Jewish groups to bring people in. The United Nations Partition Plan and Declaration of Independence. United Nations involvement in the year 1947 in response to rising tensions. The United Nations proposed a plan to partition Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem as an international city. The plan allocated about 55% of the land to the Jewish state, though the Jews are estimated to being one-third of the population then. In reactions, Jewish leaders accepted the plan, seeing it as a step toward statehood. In contrast, Arab leaders rejected it, believing it was unfair to the Arab majority living in Palestine. The Declaration of the State of Israel. May 14, 1948, as the British mandate was about to end, David Ben-Gurion declared the establishment of the State of Israel. This declaration emphasized the historical connection of Jewish people to the land and their right to self-determination. International recognition. The United States and the Soviet Union officially recognized Israel, but Arab nations viewed the declaration as an act of aggression. Arab-Israeli War in the year 1948. Outbreak of war and invasion by Arab states. Following the Declaration of Independence, neighboring Arab countries like Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq jointly invaded Israel. This marked the beginning of the First Arab-Israeli War. Fighting in this conflict saw intense battles. Initially, the Arab armies had some successes, but the Israelis managed to regroup and fought back effectively. Consequences of the war. Palestinian exodus, Nakba. The war caused the displacement of around 700,000 Palestinian Arabs, many of whom fled or were expelled from their homes. Palestinians refer to this event as the Nakba, or catastrophe. Armistice agreements in the years 1949. The war ended with a series of agreements that established borders for Israel and neighboring Arab states but did not resolve the Palestinian refugee issue or future political conflicts between the Palestine and Israel or the Arab world and the State of Israel. Post-1948 developments. Early years of Israel nation building. In its early years, Israel faced significant challenges, including integrating diverse immigrant populations from different parts of the world, many of whom were fleeing persecution. The government focused on building a cohesive society and developing the economy. Continued conflict between the ever-growing Palestinian identity and the displacement of Palestinians. Going through the struggle for rights contributed to a burgeoning sense of national identity among Palestinians. They began to organize politically and socially to address their grievances in different ways. The rising tent irons led to the Six-Day War in the year 1967, where Israel captured the West Bank, Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula, and Golan Heights. This war significantly changed the region's dynamics and deepened the Israeli-Palestinian conflict even till recent days as known. However, relentless peace efforts in modern era by different nations around the world have proved little results. More and more attempts for peace between the Jewish people and the Arab world led to the Oslo Accords in the year 1993. A significant peace effort occurred with the Oslo Accords, which aimed to create a framework for Palestinian self-governance in parts of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. However, many issues, like borders and refugees, remained unresolved. For many reasons, the form of resistance violence continued despite peace efforts. Violence persisted, culminating in the Second Intifada in the year 2000 through 2005, a period of intense conflict and uprisings, which further complicated peace negotiations. Till recent days, violent and conflict situation persist. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict marked by cycles of violence by resistance groups, military actions, and expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank. Key issues include the status of Jerusalem, the right of return for Palestinian refugees, and the borders of a potential Palestinian state. International dynamics. The conflict attracts global attention, with various countries and organizations attempting to mediate peace. The United States' support for Israel and the evolving relationships in the Middle East, including Arab normalization efforts with Israel, shape the ongoing situation. The creation of Israel is a pivotal chapter in modern history, deeply rooted in a complex mix of historical grievances, national aspirations, and geopolitical influences. The legacy of these events continues to shape Israeli and Palestinian identities and influences global politics today. Many realities within the history lines make it crucial for addressing the ongoing challenges and seeking a lasting resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
This is Multivlogs 247. Like, share and subscribe for more.